Welcome, everyone, to the Heart of the Artist. I am your co-host, Whisper Poet. Where's my girl, Catalyst? Where you at, woman?
I'm here.
Yay, there she is. We are so excited to welcome an amazing poet, Mona Zamfrescu. Mona, welcome. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. This is an honor, really, to be among so many beautiful women.
And I love the way that you address that because that is exactly what we wanted to do when we conceived of the show is to highlight individuals like yourself who are doing amazing things in the poetry world. Sorry about that. And just put the highlight on you. And, we're in these virtual spaces where we get to hear your poetry, but we don't really get to find out who you are. And so that's what we want to do today is get to know you. And you are sitting in the most beautiful room with this gorgeous light. And you are in New York, right?
Close, New Jersey. Yeah.
And sorry, I am turning off my phone. My bad. I forgot to do that previously. So I was just in New York and I didn't find out until after I left there that you're in New York. And I was like, dang it, missed opportunity because I would have loved to have connected with you there. Um, but I was on Facebook and I was stalking you. And you have the most amazing photographs on your profile on Facebook. How do you label yourself with your photography?
Oh, that's interesting. Because labels are the things that I try to stay away from. Like I pretty much try to reinvent myself, whether I try or not. Like it happens. Photography is recent in my artistic sort of um, becoming. But I took it up a couple of years ago and I started learning. And I think I'm learning some from some of the greatest. I've seen things out there just amazing, and I've benefited from people being willing to teach me. And I got myself a more professional camera, and I just went on with it. Like I'm I pretty much take my camera with me everywhere I go. And when I ran out of subjects, which rarely happens, then I turn it back towards me. So there's selfies out there.
What I really loved about your photographs, first of all, I was looking at them going like, I feel like we're of the same heart when it comes to subject matter. You're taking on these beautiful flowers and animals and wildlife and these just beautiful outdoor scenes. And just, but your eye, like the quality of the pictures is amazing. You're obviously dealing with a lovely camera that you can do wonderful things with technologically, but that has nothing to do with your eye as the photographer, and the perspective that you get is just beautiful. I remember looking at one that had a single droplet of water. I believe it was maybe a rose bush, like a cane of a rose bush maybe, and it was just this single droplet of water, and looking at and it was just beautiful. And I was showing I was driving my cousin crazy. He was trying to work, and I'm like, this is who I'm interviewing on Tuesday. Look at this one, and look at it. But you have a beautiful eye, and
Thank you.
it just speaks to. I have to believe that that flows into your artistry with poetry as well. Do you have other arts that you enjoy too?
Yes, actually, the way I started and the way I discovered my creative streak was through um, fiber arts, through actually something that's very mundane, and lots of women would relate to it. I crochet. I started, I learned how to crochet where I was in a very low time in my life, and just this pulled me up, like just pulled me up from the bottom of the bottom. And I've enjoyed it ever since. And if I forget that for some time and I don't do a project for a while, then I get back to it, I just get this joy. It's like, gosh, I'd forgotten how much I enjoy it. This is just so much fun.
I
uh,
am so glad that you brought that up because I saw one of your, I think you made a video and you called it
Right.
mathematical crochet.
Oh yeah, yeah. It's actually it has a even more technical name, topological crochet, because it talks about the topology of the surface that I'm trying to reproduce. Actually, I can show it to you right here. So I have it.
Yes.
I made it uh, because I was inspired from a workshop I attended at the Museum of Mathematics, right? MoMath in New York. They host all kinds of workshops, and nowadays everything on Zoom. So this woman was showing how to make all kinds of mathematical sort of things like that, like a Möbius strip, and this was one of them, and something else called Borromean rings. I have it here as well. This is also like a twisted, it has twisted knots. Everything is just amazing to me. But this is new. This is new stuff. I have started with other mathematical surfaces like hyperbolic surfaces, which pretty much is ruffles. So if you imagine ruffles opening up wide, that's the sort of thing I enjoy doing a whole lot. And I've been branching out from there to make flowers. So I made an enormous amount of flowers, like all kinds. Roses, carnations, orchids. I had a whole repertoire of flowers that I could crochet, and I would just make them and give them away. I hardly have any left. But I that was a very um nourishing period in my life when I discovered that I could do this, and just brought so much beauty in my life. And then from then on, I discovered other things. Then I've discovered that I can write. And then I discovered that I can paint. And then so I've branched out in many directions. And each sort of branch took a while to develop. And I can't say that I'm like developed, but it's just like sprouts that's kind of tendrils that go in all these different directions. And what I can tell you is that I get so much joy out of all of my creative endeavors. It doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter. It can be crochet. I just I get totally transported in that, or I could write poetry, or I could draw, or I have all this graphic art that I'm do out of my iPad. Um I just I'm pursuing my joy, to be honest.
I love that, and I can see the joy and the excitement in your face when you talk about it. It's wonderful to see you're glowing, you're lit up and smiling, and it's wonderful. Um, so that so you've got the cra and those can you show those pieces again? Those are unreal.
Yeah,
I was trying,
this
yes.
one is a torus, a punctured torus. But you can also think about it as a trefoil knot. So it's a knot. So all these go inside out. This is a non-orientable surface, if you think about it, like a Möbius strip. So you can just kind of follow up the edge, and you would just kind of go all around it, and it's just
Mhm.
one piece.
I was picturing this like because
Yeah.
I knit and my grandma crocheted and I haven't learned to crochet yet. I did buy this big wooden thing that I don't it's some kind of crochet box or something. But anyway, I was trying to picture like, okay, if I'm crocheting and I'm picturing the needles and how would you do this? And I could not wrap my head around how you would actually do it. And it looked, I couldn't see a beginning and an end. How do
It
you
does
start?
not have a beginning and an end. If you see a Möbius strip, you can imagine like a piece of paper, like a strip of paper, and you twist it and then you glue the ends together. That's one way to think about it. But these ones do not have a beginning and the end because of the of how the base of the structure was created. So it's just fascinating to me because it makes me think of abstract notions that I can't envision in my head, but then once I see it in my hands, it's like, oh, I get it now. You know, like it's no longer something remote and incomprehensible. But once I know that I've created it, it's not just something abstract. It just becomes real.
Wow. Now
Yeah.
you are a mathematician.
Right.
Uh,
Yeah.
is that the correct is that the correct phrase?
Yes. Yes. Um I guess I am a professor. I teach mathematics. I've been teaching mathematics for the past 20 something years. I got my degree here at Columbia, actually, in New York. I came in this country to go to grad school. So that's how I landed in New York in 1997. So it's been a while. It's been a while.
Do you take your crochet? Have you ever taken your crochet projects and showed them to your students?
No, 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 no. This I've discovered recently. This sort of artistry, right? I've discovered it recently, but back in the day, I was entirely focused on having a career, um, which I guess everyone could understand. But once I've got gotten my career, once I've gotten to the place where I was, I had a life, and I had my kids, and I had my family, and I had just something was missing, and things weren't tying together. And then I've struggled for a long time. And one day, a friend of mine sent me a picture. It says, "Listen, take a look at this. I think you would enjoy it." And it was a picture of a hyperbolic crocheted surface done by a professor from Cornell. Her name is Dinah Tamina, I think. I forget now the exact name, but she's a professor at Cornell. And I just saw that surface, and it was it's just like all these ruffles turning in and out, and I was just so fascinated with it, and I'd forgotten about all my troubles. And I said, I'm gonna do that. If that's the last thing that I do, I'm gonna do that. And then I didn't know how to crochet before then, but I just looked up some YouTube tutorials, and I learned how to crochet just so that I can make that. And then ever since then, I just never looked back. That became my life. And one day, actually, to answer your question, I did show my students some of my projects, and they got so worried. It's like, wait a second, am I going to be graded on this? It's like, how am I going to be graded? No, 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 no. I said, just come on. Some things you got to just take it on as, appreciation, right? You appreciate the beauty of, and they relaxed a little bit, but for a little while, they were kind of worried that I'm going to grade them on hyperbolic surfaces.
That would have been cute to maybe put that question on the test. No, I'm sorry. That would be mean. That would be mean. So I'm thinking about MC Escher and his work, and it your the one that the trifoil kind of
Yeah.
reminds me.
Yeah, he does this sort of thing. And even this, if you've seen some of his work, it's a lot of you would say that um it feels absurd, right? The kind of imagery that he creates, if it's like, how is that even possible? But the reality is that we lack imagination, to see that it is actually possible. This is a surface of that kind. Again, this is Borromean rings. It's the same principle as this one, except that it has three circles. It's based on three interlocking circles rather than, yeah.
Now, what am I thinking of? Three interlocking circles, gravitational. I don't know. My mind went off in a direction on that for a minute. I don't know where I was going with that. Um, but do you find that when you're working on like a crochet project that you can kind of your hands are going and you start thinking about poetry or about a painting or about some photography? Do those kind of overlap with each other?
Oh, no, no, no. I get totally immersed in the project. And I think that this is what I've discovered. That was the most important thing that I've discovered while I took up crocheting, because it's a very repetitive process, so it's very meditative, and you have to be totally paying attention. And so I realized that I was just kind of absorbed in counting. I was counting my stitches, and I just like the whole world disappeared around me. Like I was just 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And later on, when I took up meditation, I realized that that's what I was doing. I was meditating. I discovered meditation in this way, sort of very practical, in a very practical way, without anyone telling me what that was. But I realized later on that I was, in effect, meditating. And that in itself was sort of enough to keep me sort of on a path towards healing, right? Like it didn't matter what I was calling it, whether I was calling it crochet or meditation. The fact of the matter is I was going on a path towards healing. So that's why I just, it's so dear to my heart, right?
I love that. I absolutely love that. So, of all of the different creative pursuits that you enjoy, how would you say your time skews out? Like, X% to crochet and X% to art, and how does it all fall out for
Oh,
you?
I'm much more spontaneous than that. Like I go with what I feel. Like for instance, I did this crocheted projects because there was the workshop. So I followed up the workshop. So it was a set of circumstances that led to that. Another time I watched a YouTube video of Zen monk who was describing a way of practicing uh, the calligraphy, right? But he was doing it as a Zen practice. And he was recording himself doing it and showing his work. He's an artist himself. And I was just fascinated with that. And I something about the energy of the process and the simplicity of it drew me in because I said, I want to try that. I'm gonna, I'm gonna do this. Okay. So that's exactly what I did. I got myself the brushes, I got myself the whatever I needed. And then like before you know it, I was trying calligraphy and learning Japanese and it's like I I am like that I get excited about something and then there's just usually a spark of something very magical that pulls me in and then I can't let go of it.
So what I'm picturing is that, you have your house and then you have this enormous craft room with all of your different, you know,
This is it. This is it.
that's it. So do you find, and I have a craft room too, and mine's small. And every time I find a new thing that I like, it seems like I have to entirely reorganize the craft room because it's full and everything was, laid out according to the current set. But if I add a new one, now I got to figure out how to shoehorn that in. What do you do for that?
Yeah, well, I usually stick with one thing for a while. So if I'm doing crocheting, then my whole place here is full of yarn. But then I put that aside and then I get my paintbrushes or whatever. So then that's there for a while. And now most recently I'm writing, so then I don't need a whole lot of room for that. And I do a lot of graphic art on my iPad. So that requires minimal sort of resources.
Okay, here's the big question. Are you a yarn junkie?
No,
No?
I do have a bag, but that's about it.
So if you're somewhere and you see yarn on sale, you're not going, I better go ahead and
No,
buy
no,
the
no,
whole.
no. I did crochet that blue blanket though over there, and I did like try my hand as much as I could, but then after a while I said enough. Yeah.
So you've done the crocheting, you've got the calligraphy, which I'm fascinated by it. And it's funny that you brought that up because I was just um, speaking with a friend of mine, Nemo Some Words. He has the Japanese calligraphy pens, and his book actually, he did the entire book in Japanese calligraphy pen. It's like a brush pen. I don't know if you have that same type of thing, but it's
Yeah.
just beautiful, beautiful pen work. So, and you've got that. Do you ever use that to write your poetry? in? Have you ever played with that?
I've played with the idea as when I started writing haiku. I started writing haiku. I thought it would be interesting to combine haiku with some sort of graphic work, and I have that, but not my work that I have on paper. I have an app. It's called a ZenBrush. And initially it was just black and white and maybe red. That was the extent of the palette, and I would just do calligraphy projects, right? But it was more like painting than calligraphy because I wouldn't focus on letters, but on just lines that made sense to me, and spirals, and whatever felt good to me, I would do it. And but it was on my iPad, so I did a lot of that. I have a collection, a good collection, a good amount of paintings that I've worked through the ZenBrush app. And so I've tried to combine those with haiku and with other poetry that felt good to me. So I've tried to do that. Yeah, I do think that visual, especially if it is of this nature that is creative and it's heartfelt, enhances whatever the message of the poem is. So it can't take away from it. I mean, it could probably if it's too much, but yeah, I think it if the combination works, I'm most often willing to try it.
So you said a second ago that you enjoyed like drawing the spirals, and that kind of puts me in mind of the shape of the trefoil and the other item that you were showing. When you're writing poetry and composing your words, are your word journeys structured similarly that you're kind of going like in a spiral or in something that's sort of a loop in a way?
Sometimes, yeah, sometimes I think that I recognize that at the end. It's not that I'm conscious of it as I'm going, but sometimes I realize, like, oh, wait a second, I'm right back where I started. So I've gone full circle. um, or in some way, I think I actually like a lot the trefoil thing because this allows you to go in many directions and then come back to the same place. But like the nature of a non-orientable surface is that when you get back, left is right and right is left, and it's like, where are you? So this is an aspect that I try to, I think not that I try to, but it happens just to combine the opposites in my work. Sometimes that happens, that it becomes apparent that black and white are there together, and and then black is white and white is black, like.
That really takes some sitting with to really think about. Um that's something you want to sit with and really ponder a moment. Black is white and white is black, and where you came back to is, yeah, I'm gonna have to, this gonna stick with me long after we finish this conversation. As a professor, are you required to do research projects?
Well, I did research project for a good time in the beginning of my career, but after a while, especially after, I've had my children, things kind of quieted down.
I was wondering if, in doing the research projects, if any of your creative pursuits ever flavored the research or came into it in any way.
No, no, it did not happen that way. My research field is as far removed from art as you can imagine. Although I guess people could find it beautiful in ways. I was working in probability theory, stochastic processes, stochastic control, finance. That's not very conducive to art, although I enjoyed very much the mathematics of it. As a matter of fact, I could tell you this, that this is a fun story, that when I was interviewing to get a job, and I went various places, and people asked me, well, why did you choose to work on that particular problem? And I said, well, what do you mean? I thought it was beautiful. And then not just the problem, but the solution. And to me, that was enough. But it wasn't enough for me to get a job with that answer. So next time around, I had to think better of,
Maybe
of how
not better,
I answer
maybe
that
not
question.
better, maybe just more mundane.
Oh,
But
yeah,
everybody's posting
yeah,
in
I
the
had to
chat.
be
Are
more
you seeing the
practical,
chat?
right? I had to learn to be practical for a while.
Is there math we haven't discovered yet?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh my God. Oh my God. I think the only reason we haven't discovered it yet is that we insist things to be done a certain way. But once somebody with enough guts will come along to say, well, let's just put that aside now and start from scratch and just think about it in a different way altogether. I think we would be just blown away about the things that we could do. But I don't think people want to do that.
As
So yeah, there is comfort in things being as they are, like in having, certain rules. We go about it. This is the way things are. But to make genuine progress, I think people have to be willing to drop it, all everything, and just have the courage to imagine something totally different. And I think mostly um it's a matter of practicality, like mathematics as it evolved, it evolved because it aimed to answer practical questions first. But I think that there's much more to be said about it if that were not the main point. What if we were to think about it, well, this is just beautiful. It's like, why not? Because it's beautiful, because it's like a work of art. Like, why not try something like that? Um, but I haven't found too many people like willing to look at it this way. Maybe this lady who's doing the crocheting,
maybe she will do it.
maybe I'll talk to her. Yeah. Or the professor at Cornell who is just doing amazing stuff. Yeah.
I, I think that as a everyday consumer of math, I think of math as being something that's very fixed and very static. The rules that govern mathematic equations, you can count on them. It's like the cliche when you're talking about, something that's tried and true, one plus one equals two, right? You can always rely on these things and they're static. And so I think because of that, maybe there's a misperception that individuals who have chosen to study math themselves maybe are somewhat fixed, and you're not fixed at all. You are wildly creative and thinking about all of these amazing things and getting inspired, and that's really exciting to think about, that there's this whole world of math rules out there that we don't even know yet.
I wouldn't call them rules. I would say discoveries, potentialities that just what we lack is maybe not necessarily just vision, is just willingness to um to let go of what we think is right. Like everything that we do is basically set in stone, like with these principles of operation. And I'm willing to shake that a bit, go at the foundations and see what can I do
Is
if
there
I
a way that
think.
1 plus 1 might not equal 2 in
But
some
it's not
sample?
about that. It's not about that. It's not about that at all. Like some things are necessary, but um let me put it this way. One of the most important things that kids are taught as they begin to study mathematics is that numbers are ordered, and they go from small to large, and then they all fit on a line. And then that's one of the first thing we teach kids. And to some degree, it's useful to do it. So I understand why it's done, because it's useful. But what if we were to put that aside, that it's useful, and think about other ways to organize numbers that don't necessarily rely on bigger than, less than, something is in between other two things, and I can always do that. So what that's the sort of thing that I'm trying to explore. Like, what if we can look at the same things, same realities, but in a different way? Um, I think that for the most part, maybe my makeup as a mathematician has been shaken a little bit, or maybe sort of enlarged, um, because of the practice. I'm a Buddhist practitioner. I practice Zen. Like, I'm going to a Zen monastery to do Zen training, and there's a lot of emphasis in that training on accepting the world, like as it is, but also as it isn't. So there is the relative, and then there is the absolute, and one need not discard one to get to the other. Like, you have to have both. So what I'm saying is that what we're dealing with is the relative. We have to have a frame of reference. That's what relative means. Like, you have to have a referential system. So that's what we do, but that's not the absolute. And my heart kind of wants to go there. And
I
I think
love that
that's
you're
where the
talking
beauty,
about
that's
that.
where the beauty comes from, and the drive and the love and the appreciation for everything that's alive and interconnected. And I want to see that. I want to be alive long enough to see it. I don't know that I will, but I think that my practice opens me up to the possibility that this might happen. Yeah.
I believe in you to be able to do it. I
No,
mean,
no.
and your friend Neil is posting some wonderful things in the chat. He just said something really cool about infinity. I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Zero and infinity are connected. Nothing and everything are equivalent states. That
Right,
that's something to meditate with for sure.
right. Yeah, I've always wondered about the zero and infinity, because they're both concepts, just concepts. And I've been trying in my practice to sort of take a step back from just digesting concepts and see, well, what is actually there. And for instance, when I do a project like this, I think about infinite, but not in terms of like size, but then just something that does not have a beginning and an end, that doesn't have a bound to it. Like, a surface like this does not have a, it's just one side to it. So whenever I think about infinity, I try to stay away from images of size and try to see how else can I think about it as boundless. No
Hmm.
boundary, no boundary. Can there
Hmm.
be a surface without a boundary, without it having to be like the largest thing that you can possibly imagine? So that's the sort of thing that I'm contemplating, but that's not to say that I've gotten anywhere with it.
So when you were holding the trefoil and talking about it, it does not have it does not have sides. Is that the right words to
Right, it's
describe it?
just one side.
It's
It's
just
just
one side.
one side. It's like, if you travel, you can start here at the top and then go all the way and you arrive at the bottom. So
Hmm.
it's just, everything is just one face. It doesn't have two faces to it. Right.
If you take just a snippet, like if you were to cut it,
Well, if you were to cut it, then there are two faces. But
right.
the nature of the topology is that as you travel around it, you arrive at the same place, but underneath. And then you keep going, and then you arrive back on top. So.
That is amazing. And I think in my head, I keep going, but there are two sides. I see it. There's a top and a bottom. It's just that the top and the bottom are also the top and the bottom at any given space
But
on
then
the
it twists, right? So the twists do the thing, right?
it's an amazing piece. I think I could stare at that thing forever. And I'm sure it has practical, it's got to have practical implications for that as well. Wow.
Right.
So has any of that, do you have any poems that relate to that where you're talking about that or dealing with that?
Well, indirectly, because I try not to write to a subject matter like mathematics directly. But then the way it works for me is that I kind of get inspired when I go out in nature. Say I see a bird, and then the bird speaks to me in some way, and then I kind of that's the hook, and then I see where the bird takes me. Um, but most of the poems that I write, many of the poems that I write are informed by um this contemplation, like what is it really that I'm looking at? What's the nature of reality? Or, you know,
So if mathematical concepts allow us to describe certain things that we observe in the physical world, can the physical world lead us to new mathematical concepts?
absolutely. Absolutely. I think, but it's not it's basically, I think the inspiration comes from letting go of structure and thinking that and just look at it, look and see what it is, but without thinking that already. Because as soon as you think then you're basically just kind of building up on that. But to come up to a genuine discovery is to let go, first of all. And then I think that the life inspires us. Life wants to be seen. Life wants to come out and flourish and show us the flowers, and which we just have to be willing to see, and in ways that maybe we're not prepared yet.
Do does your practice of Buddhism deal with chakras?
Not directly. Like I don't do anything fancy, to be honest. All I do is sit. All I do is sit, and what we're told really when we're practicing is that's all we do. Um, and then let the rest go. Like not that, and that's my choice. Other people have other and it doesn't work the same for everyone. I mean, you have to want it to work. But I found it the most effective for me because this is what I discovered firsthand while I was crocheting, like meditation in that regard, where I was totally absorbed in, and I was just letting the world go.
Mm.
Nothing mattered. And as far as I'm concerned, watching my breath is no different. And to me, because I've seen it, how that helped me. So to me, that is relevant because I've seen it work. And I stuck with it. I know maybe one day will come when I won't do it, but for now, it feels like absolutely necessary to my life.
And this is sort of like reaching a state of quietude within yourself, kind of.
It's not necessarily quiet. In my practice, they say don't expect whatever it is to be a specific experience. Like let it be what it is. Sometimes it's quiet, sometimes it's not quiet. And then one has to learn to be with everything that is part of life. And I think that learning to be with my most disturbed, moments and difficult things that happen within me, just be there and accept my own personal weather and life, and but just don't go away with it, sort of just witness it,
Mhm.
has been tremendously healing for me.
I'm trying to picture what that state looks like. I am incredibly ADHD, so I would like to try to achieve what you're talking about. I have never been able to do that. Um, and even with like the artistic pursuits and the crocheting and or knitting, um, I tend to lose where I'm at because I'm not counting stitches because I'm thinking about 12 other things at the same time. But do you feel like that ability to really just focus in on what you're doing, does that leads you to a doorway of discovery?
Yes, but indirectly. It's never what you think. Like, it's never what I think. It's sometimes I just realize later, like how things unfold, and it's like, okay.
So
But
kind of after the
yeah, the
fact.
point is not to go in with an agenda. Like, just let it be what it is.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love that. Would you like to share some poetry?
Oh, yes. I actually want to share the most recent one I wrote, and because specifically because it touches upon what we were just talking about, doorways, right? The doorways into a specific experience, right? Doorway. How is it not a circle? The tall reeds that echo the blackbird's mating dance. An eagle soars above Tranquility Ridge, and then another. A cormorant awaits patiently. Its heart beats across the waters. On a nearby tree, the other. The moon rises over velvety hills, almost full, almost perfect. The sun sets into this moment we have, now bent into itself like the reed holding the balance of the red-winged. Its mate, the black-winged, circles the waters and me like a brush. My arms strong, I too draw circles in the air, each one a window. No hesitation, left, right, left. The cadence of my paddle in the wind, round and steady. In the distance, the woods vibrant and dense, pulsing my lungs. In the wake of my flow, the hills point to a doorway I must have passed without knowing. I must have entered its mystery with each pull against the waters. They whisper, first young, then old, then young again, alive, not to be solved, not to be reasoned. The water settles over this riddle, the imperfectly perfect, open-ended circle. I actually have a different ending to that, but it's not on my book. I didn't print it yet. But there you go. That's an example.
It's beautiful. Your poetry is sublime. I mean, that was the word that came to me when I was, doing your promo for the show. It just is so incredibly evocative. And I feel like your photographs are a poem, contained in a single image.
Mm.
They take me on a journey the same way that your words do, and they're just beautiful. There's a velvet quality of just being wrapped in something so comforting. Just thank you. That was
Thank
beautiful. Oh my goodness. Yes, please, if you have another, yes, we want more.
Well, let's see. I have a poem I wrote on the prompt. This was on a prompt. I was supposed to write a poem in the style of the New York School of Poets, right? New York Poets School in the 90s, 50s, 60s, inspired by like Frank O'Hara and like. So I had a very specific list of instructions on what poem should cover, but I'll go over it. New York poet. To tell you the truth, not a day goes by without thinking, I have seen this before. Dragging my feet down Lexington Ave. How work is work. How years go by. Folks harried, their steps measured by the size of Starbucks cups. Venti, I say, leaving room for those in an even greater hurry. For the first time, I was happy here, once, thinking, this is it. Now, I want to stop for a while and tell you I love you. Light bends around Gramercy Park, padlocks and empty benches. Not a day goes by without thinking life is passing me by. The pigeon lady still there in Union Square. The statue, Gandhi, looking away, my way. Walking towards a peace I do not see. Lavender and honey, fresh bread, I'm passing them by. I think of you and work. I want to begin anew. I told you already. My dreams on their way uptown. Slowly, the subway cars are full of empty cups.
That is such strong visual imagery. And I think it's hitting me even more since I just was recently in New York. And so those images really resonate. That's wonderful. And you achieved that style. That is incredible. That you were able to conceptualize another style and write in that way.
Well, I was given very clear instructions on what to do. It's like there had to be a celebrity, there had to be foods, there had to be drinks, beverages, there the poem had to be addressed to someone. So I had a list of things that I had to implement. But I didn't know where I was going with it. And to be honest, I just looked at myself just going to work and how I felt one day that something is missing in my life and how I felt like I need, like I need to get out of this constant rush. We're just rushing to work and back home to work. And I just thought about Union Square, which I often go in Union Square, and I see the statue and the pigeon lady. Those were like always there. And the pigeon lady sitting there meditating and the pigeons all over. And nearby the farmer's market, and it's just so wholesome. Like everything there, the honey, everything fresh, like wholesome. And just somehow I just noticed, like, oh, I never buy anything. I just rushed with my cup of coffee, which doesn't give me anything except that takes me wherever I'm going faster. And I just felt this lack, like I need nourishing, like just I need my life be more full of nourishing things than just rushing about. And then I realized I'm going uptown. Uptown is um I'm going to school. I'm going back to school in the fall. I'm going to start MFA program at the City College. So that's up there. And I just so excited. And I don't know, the poem was kind of sad in the end because I was thinking about the subway filled with empty cups because that's what people do. Just drink coffee all along, all day long. But I want poetry. So I'm going uptown and I'm gonna learn poetry. Yeah.
I love that. And but what I'm fascinated by is you know, you're quite clear. You want to explore the boundaries without having any preset or predefined limits on it. Just, let your mind go and see what you come up with. Explore, be open. But with the poetry, you're talking about haiku. I mean, haiku has very clear rules, and like this prompt, it had very clear rules. Is poetry a space where you're comfortable saying, okay, this is the framework, and I'm gonna have that creativity within these bounds?
Well, I think it's important to know the bounds before you. So it's what they say. You have to know the rules before you break the rules. But I think it comes with the territory that, poetry, like any other art, it has a craft to it. You have to learn the craft. And you can't just bypass that. I mean, you can, but I chose not to. I want to go and I want to learn. I've never taken an English class before. I want to learn language. Like I want to be exposed to different things that all I studied all my life was mathematics. So I want to see something else. But to your point, haiku, 575 syllables, I've taken liberties with that. My haikus never follow 575. I was just like, I'm all over them. I wrote a pantoum not too long ago, and then yes, I followed the structure, but I took liberties with it. So I play with the edge, like for me. Yeah.
I don't know if you've met Chan Sun. He is a folk a person within the Instagram poetry spaces who is very devoted to the craft of haiku, and he's trying to do the haiku world record, which I believe is like 11,000, a huge number of haiku poems, and he's well on his way. I haven't checked in with him lately, but I want to say he was over maybe 4,000. And of course, he, writes every day. He's very dedicated to his craft. But we had a conversation one time, and Nemo Soon was there, and we're talking about haikus, and I said, I keep messing up the haiku thing. I just can't figure out the rules to the haiku. I always mess it up. It's never the right number of syllables. I've given up. I'm gonna stop calling it haiku and call it triku. And Nemo made a really interesting statement. He said, "Do you think that you need more rules or fewer
Mm.
in order to create a haiku?" And I thought, wow, that's really like defining an existential question of someone's life. Do you need more rules or fewer? So, what would the answer be if I asked that question of you for your life? Do you need more rules or fewer?
Oh, I love this quote by Einstein. To be honest, it says that things ought to be made simpler, as simple as you can make them, but not more than that. So there's a virtue to simplifying, but after a point it becomes counterproductive. So I strive for that, but really, honestly, I just want to hear what's in my heart. I couldn't care less about the rules. Like I just want to speak my heart, and just I want to resonate with things that I feel like are important. And if I write something that makes sense in and something comes within the format, then great. Then I take it. If not, it's going to be some other format.
Do you feel like across your life with all of the different things that you're doing, have you ever come across something that really rang true within you?
Yeah, but it's
How
never
does your
something
body?
with words. Like you just know it in your body. Like you know it, like beyond any doubt. And watch for it, because as soon as you know it, like you get too comfortable in it, then it changes.
So
But
what
in the
does your body
moment, like
do?
just in the moment, sometimes you just like, like you feel it like in your
Yeah,
body, like your body totally relaxes and is happy in that. Yeah.
that's what I was going to ask you is what does your body do when you come with sort of you find that moment, that second of that truth Do you get the chills, or like what does your body do when you hit that tree?
Sometimes yeah, I feel chills or whatever, but I just notice mostly what's not there, like tension. It's like when the tension is gone, like say of my shoulder, sometimes I'm like that. And then all of a sudden I notice that I'm totally relaxed. And that's something to pay attention to because it's, yeah, it's a very, very wholesome state.
When all of the tension is gone. Yes, yes. Do do you feel like when you are out in nature that you are an observer of what's going on, or that you are a part of what's going on, or both?
Oh, I don't know. Sometimes I'm self-conscious because I know I'm carrying a camera and I'm trying to get pictures and I'm trying to paddle my way and not just roll over. So I'm trying to stay sort of safe. But then there's moments when I forget myself altogether. And it's hard to say like what comes of those moments. I don't know. I I thoroughly enjoy being in nature. This has been a joy in my life. Since I started paddling, I bought a kayak and now I actually have three. So I've just gradually worked my way up. But just being on the water for me is just absolutely fantastic. Fantastic. I don't have words to describe other than I'm writing poetry, but I just the peace that I feel. And sometimes the peace is clouded with storms, but even there I find something. Even there I find something. Do we have time for a poem? I could write
Yep. Absolutely, yes.
this
Yeah.
one actually, speaking of that, like the eye of the storm. The eye of the storm. Blue and clear like the evening sky, her eyes bridging the river's span, just old enough to be my daughter. Sophie, my guide, that summer night. The sun was just about to set, beyond the moving clouds unseen over the waters, the thunder ominous, the current loud. I didn't know how much I didn't know about the river, about wind and skies. I was confused and lost and spinning with a tide, my paddle useless. The shoreline muddled in a distance I thought I'd never cross. Over the waters, the thunder ominous, the current loud. Sophie, a ways away, her kayak steady, singular, majestic like the rising moon. She stopped. I stopped. You know just what to do, she said, or so I thought. Her eyes clear, unmoved and bright, over the waters, the thunder ominous, the current loud. Then silence came over the river. The time had stopped the distance, and I gave up the fight. Amidst the rising waves, paddle turned into rudder, shoreline now in sight. Over the waters, beyond the clouds, the dusk had fallen. The storm a dream away, etched in my mind her eyes, clear and blue like now the evening sky. The hand that held my heart over the waters, the whisper from beyond the world. When time stood still and I could hear, keep at it, keep at it. You can do it. You know, I'm here, waiting. I'm always here. You know.
I had that moment when you said, I didn't know what I didn't know. And I had that moment, that thing where the chills go over you. And it was one of those moments. And yes, that was absolutely beautiful.
right. I was caught in a storm actually. This was my first time on the river, and I was going with the crowd, like with the tour. I had a tour guide, right? Because who in their right mind would go their first time on the river alone? So I had a guide thinking, I'm with someone. Someone will come and rescue me if I'm in trouble, right? And then when the storm started and I was like spinning and not knowing what to do, she didn't come. She was there, but she was away. And she was looking at me and I was looking at her and it's like, well, aren't you gonna come? And and she just looked at me. And this is probably one of the most defining moments of my life because in that moment it was like you were saying, how do you know you know? Well, in that moment, it felt like everything got quiet. And I just realized, like, holy smokes, like now I either do it or I don't do it, but it's up to me to do it. And from her demeanor and the peace in her, like in her eyes, she was looking at me and it's just like she had total confidence that I could do it, that I knew what to do, and I had no clue. And then all of a sudden, like the paddle that I was trying to paddle every which way and I was going in circles, and I just gave up. And then I just put it in the water. And when I put it in the water like that vertically, it acted like a rudder. But I had no idea what even a rudder was. I had no clue. And but then the rudder was what was needed in that moment. And what was needed for me was to give up the fight, like to give up struggling. And in that like peace, out of that peace came knowledge. Like I knew what to do. It's just that I didn't know it. But this way, once my kayak got steadied, because of the rudder, then I was able to get myself out of the jam I was in. But I was pretty scared, to tell you the truth. So it's not always nice and peaceful. But there's that moment, like the eye of the storm. Sometimes, like if I'm lucky, I hit that, you know.
So you had to just stop making decisions to go this way or that and just let your body just did something.
It. Yes. Yeah. But I had to stop pretty much what I was doing. Yeah.
Is that sounds like an amazing did you write that poem by chance?
Yeah. I wrote the poem recently, though. This happened years ago.
Years ago. Okay. Wow. And she just looked, that must have been a moment of absolute fear.
I was terrified. I was terrified. But then I realized it's up to me. It's like, forget about the fear. Like right now, it's up to me. Like I do it or I don't do it. That's it. There's no one gonna come for me. And that was just extraordinary because she gave me, by not giving me anything, she gave me an extraordinary gift. The gift of realizing that I actually have it. I have what I need.
Wow.
It's just to access it. Like in a moment of crisis like that, you access it because you fight with, you're there with your whole body. Like whatever you know in your body, it will come through.
Did you know at that time or maybe even later that evening when you were thinking about it, did you have a sense of the enormity of that moment for you?
No, not while was, I mean, I was just grateful that I was back on the shore, which incidentally, like as soon as we hit the shore, the storm was gone. So it's
What?
like, how does that happen? It's like the storm was there just to teach me. It's like, look what you can do, you know?
So
So
it took how many years, like between when that event occurred and when you wrote this poem? How long was that?
maybe a couple of years. Yeah.
So over time, it sort of settled with you and
Yeah. In the meantime,
coalesced.
I've learned more about kayaking. But that was my first time. Yeah.
Wow.
On the river. The first time on the river. Yeah.
Go big or go home. Good gracious. You did. But it's funny because I remember looking at your photos and thinking to myself, this woman loves the water. She loves the water. It just comes through so clearly. I think the thing that I really take away from your photos is joy and love.
Mm,
I don't think that you can capture an image the way that you do without having love of what it is that you're capturing and joy in the experience of doing it.
mm. Thank you. I definitely say that I love it and I feel joy when I do it. So maybe that's why it's coming through. I wasn't aware that it does, but it makes me happy to hear you say that.
And I think your poetry is the same way.
Mm.
The way that you describe everything there is, it's just this, I feel the love and I feel the joy.
Well, thank
And
you.
is it you that I remember being in and I think it was Finn Hall's open mic. That's one you go to, isn't it? Finn Hall, the gentleman
Um,
from Scotland.
yeah, yeah, I do attend Finn Hall's Blot from the Blue and some other open mics. Um, Time to Arrive, I go often, and First Friday, Lee Eric, Friedman from Massachusetts. Yeah.
Is it you that did like a poetry video one time
Oh
that I was
yeah, yeah, I do. I do this in collaboration with Neil, actually. I Neil is my partner in arts. And we
beautiful?
do write the poetry together, and sometimes he writes the poetry based on my videos. And this is a tremendously joyful experience because to me, to find that my work inspires someone to write, it's just wow, mind blowing. And Neil wrote a couple of poems or a few poems based on the videos that I made, and then we decided to write together in the call and response style, where we would each write on our own, but then we would merge the poems, which turned out to be an amazing experience as well. I am so grateful to Neil for partnering up with me in that project. And we did the poems. We used the video as a backdrop for it, so our voices blending, and then the video based on my graphic arts or photography. So
Um, I, I know this is totally, you're probably not even prepared or thought about you might would do this, but if that's something that you would like to share, we could
oh
certainly do
yeah,
that
I
if you
could
would
do
like.
it. I could do it.
Oh, yes, yes. It's
Oh,
brilliant.
awesome, awesome. I can share. Let me just get it up quickly. I see.
Catalyst herself is an amazing graphic artist, and I can feel her over there bouncing in her seat like a kid with a frog in her pocket over this.
Oh, oh my goodness. Yeah, I just give me a second to pull it up. I have a folder. I'm not very organized, although I am, but like not very. Um, just give me a second, then I'll have it. Okay. So I have a video. This is one of my favorites. This is the first one that we did a call and response poem with Neil. I'll start it up and then share the screen, okay?
This is great.
Okay. Let me see, where is it? Share screen.
Should pop up once you're co-host.
Okay, I got it.
From green to blue, the azure of space has no start nor finish, no ultramarine nor teal. In the blue of space, sea meets sky. Blue be the color that is home.
You, who knows the warps of time and space, the hollows of my heart, I listen for you.
I keep the square of my distance. I am but a hum upon the solar wind, morphing into cloud and cold, shape-shifting origami you cannot fathom.
Green across galaxies in this interstellar journey of eclipses and twists of fate, the light bends.
The arc of the horizon bent to its bow, shooting stars scour the heavens, misty mountains and horizon yonder, whale sound, light blue of flute, dark of cello.
I reach the depths of sound returning to me from where you are blue and beyond.
Elusive as you approach. Blue slips through your fingers.
Countless light years span the dark dream space. Here, we meet in each other, or we don't really meet at all.
I am so glad you were able to share that. I remember seeing that in Finn Hall Space and was just like, wow, that was everything. Catalyst, are you flipping out over there? And I love the graphic images in that. I know this sounds like the opposites, but voluptuous precision is what
Yeah.
I felt looking at them.
What a word. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's amazing.
They were
Um,
luscious, but lusciously precise.
wow.
Perfect arcs and yeah. Oh, that was everything. Now, did you do the music too? You created that music
No,
too?
no, no. The music, we found it online
Oh,
in
perfect.
yeah.
You couldn't have made a more perfect track for that if you had composed it yourself. I mean, just and your voices together, just it's
This one,
wonderful.
the video came first. The video, the music, the video, the images were in place, and then we were inspired. So we decided to have this call and response sort of poem where he would be blue and I would be green, and we would be sort of talking to each other, like blue calls to green, and then it came. It's just I'm having so much fun.
And the thing is, I mean, as a student in college, you're going to take your astronomy class, right? And you think of that as being, very dry. And that was just, oh, I don't even have words for how beautiful and sublime that video is. Catalyst put in the chat, she's like, I want to watch that over and over and over and over again. So is that have you done more than just that one? You've done several collaborations?
Yeah. We have one that was based on, again, call and response. War and Peace actually was a nice one, because that one we had a theme. So we went backwards. First we had a theme, and then we built the video based on photography that I collected of and Neil helped me out with some photography from his part of the world. So we ended up doing a poem titled War and Peace, which is not technically about war and peace, but then again, it's also about war and peace. So it's an interesting one. I could share it if you'd like.
Yes, please. Yes, yes.
All right. That one, we loved working on that one. Because it was different, right? Like we don't want to do the same thing over and over. That one, yeah, brought up different feelings. So let me share the screen and then I'll start the.
War and Peace. Deep, deep in the forest, in a series of dawn maneuvers, tall trees bend towards the light. Greedy for more, wanting more of their fill. After all, sunlight will turn to chlorophyll. Tall trees tower above their lesser cousins, who get shaded. Tall trees cast long shadows, their canopy of cover monopolizes the light. Armies march on their stomach. Make no mistake, there's nothing benign here, no country for old men. With standing room only, you have to have sharp elbows, a constant jostle for space.
The judgments of the day coalesce, a dark ghostly web that hovers over this forest full of kindling. Fallen trees extend branches, twisted like prayers towards the sky. Yet fallen trees do not pray. Fallen trees hold other fallen trees, perhaps. Velvety moss drapes their light embrace.
Leave no man behind is a refrain the forest forgot. Now it is each man for himself, as shoot and tendril salute the sky. In the fight for light, in the race for soil, water, and space, the more there is, the more they want. This intent gets manifest in their morphing, malformed, misshapen, and twisted. Conflict continues amongst the common. Duels and differences more intense with those who look like them, eat like them, and drink like them. At times being indifferent to trees that are different, nay, maybe even welcoming.
The judgments of the day hover in a dark web near the top. The higher branches bend under their weight. Here on the ground, the fragrance of mold, decomposing leaves fill my nostrils. The soil is moist, my footsteps soft and quiet. Here, nothing is truly solid, not even the dark web hovering up high.
In jungle warfare, vines and climbers smother trees, stranglers that steal and soak up sun. Yet, it is the unspoken alliances that flourish in the foliage. Orchids and ferns encounter sunshine on the branches of tall trees, finding homes, piggybacking on their trunks. How close to the sky this upper canopy? How far removed from their struggle in the darkness at the bottom of the forest?
It is very quiet here and close to the ground. Mycelium reaches dried old roots. Exposed tendrils coil over decaying bark. Here, in the heart of the forest, deer come with soft eyes. Robins, blue jays pierce this cluttered clearing, the voice of damning hushed among them. I come here sometimes to touch the moss, to let my fingers run over the trunks, to feel the birds that must have rested on the soft green, tender and fresh like the forest in spring. Like a willow in the wind, my body knows what war is. My hands paint with dark soil traces of light on my face. They touch the fresh moss, the crested bark of fallen trees, the wounds of my body. I have put down my armor so I may know what peace is.
I have put down my armor so I may know what peace is. Yeah. Yeah. That was absolutely incredible. And so you were saying that the rainforest, that footage was Neil's?
Right. Neil contributed, Neil and his friend Li Ming provided the pictures of the jungle and the rainforest. And I took pictures of the forests around here, North America.
It was such a beautiful blending. Like it didn't, even though it was different climates, there was such a similar flow, and just the way the images just flowed one into the next. And your voice is, I think in a former life you must have done something like, I don't know, woo sailors out on the water or something with your voice, because
Mermaid.
yes, oh my gosh, I could just listen to your voice forever. Just absolutely sublime. The videos are just amazing. So do you think that the two of you will do more of these collaborations? They're absolutely
Yeah,
brilliant.
I hope so. I hope we will. I hope we will. This is too good. We're
It
having so
is.
much fun. We are like, if for nothing, for no other reason. Okay. This is just collaborating with Neil has been just a tremendous joy. And uh, that's all I want to say about it. Really. It's just, if we can keep it going, we will.
I feel like there's a theme across all of the wonderful things that you've shared with us, today, from the beginning until now. I feel like this theme is of seeking joy and finding just such home within that moment of joy. I don't think it's a fleeting experience for you. It feels like you just crawl in there and just live it.
Yeah.
Joyrider. You're a
Yeah.
joyrider.
Yeah. Well,
Hooray
there's
for
all
the
kinds of
joyriders.
experiences, but I think that it's just I'm doing my best to appreciate it all as it is, really. Like, not just make it all about joy, but definitely like joy is part of it. Yeah.
And I love what you've talked about, the therapeutic aspect of what you're doing. You know, a lot of poets write specifically about, experiences, and that's a wonderful therapeutic way to work through the things that you've gone through, and that's, that is a pathway to it. Um, but you've kind of done the same way, but without speaking on it directly. You forged your own path to healing through the use of the arts, but not speaking, like speaking your trauma, right?
Well, I do that privately with my therapist, right?
Yes. Your therapist gets those poems.
Right.
I mean, just thank you so much for sharing all of this. It's absolutely incredible. And so now you're talking about a new horizon for you? You want to go do the MFA program?
Right.
That's absolutely exciting. So, what prompted you to decide that you wanted to take that next step?
Well, it's not that I don't need to go to school to get a diploma to get a job. I do it because I honestly feel joy about it. I want to learn. And I thought about how I've never had the opportunity to learn about language, and how I've never had the opportunity to be surrounded by people who are fluent in this, like arts. I've always been among scientists, and it's a different world. And I want to be exposed to different dynamic, a different way of thinking. I want to meet these people. Like, it's not just about the material, because I could technically write poetry and read books and learn on my own, but I want to be with people and meet people that are living this life. So I think I'm seeking community, and I'm seeking opportunities that are not necessarily like career wise, but again, joy. Like, and I think this is the right motivation to do things, because I mean, any motivation is important, but like first time around when I went to school, I had other concerns, right? Like, I had to make it through my life to arrive at the place of stability. But now that that's not the issue, um, then what am I there for? And I think that this speaks to really like the honesty of my exploration. Like, I'm there because I want to, because I want to be there, because I have feel joy and experience joy in learning, and I want more of that. So that's the reason.
And then you're also working on your studies for your Zen master class
Well,
learning as
the
well,
Zen
right?
practice is separate. That's where actually everything comes from, really, because what the Zen practice aims to do is to get you in touch with who you are, really, truly, honestly. No pretense. Just find yourself. And then from there, everything flows. Um, but yeah, that's the sort of the backbone, right? Of the whole life. And then what I do after that, it's my thing.
I love that. So are there other things too that you think you might want to explore further on down the road?
I am thinking to um combine photography, for instance, or my art with the poetry. So to find ways of doing that eventually would be very joyful for me, to find a way to express my many ways that I can find beauty in the world and put them to make them converge. And I would be interested in publishing a book that has that angle to it.
It'd be amazing. I would not be surprised to find out down the road that you have become the singularity, that you've acquired so much knowledge that you've done it. I mean, just I am so in awe, but not in the, the I don't want to make you uncomfortable saying I'm in awe of you. I admire you greatly, and I just think your viewpoint and your take on the world is just beautiful and delicious and exciting. Um, and I just can't wait to see what you create next.
Yeah,
And
I don't
I'm
know
so
what
thankful
would
that you
be.
share it. I'm so thankful that you share it with us. And from everything, from the photos to you guys need to check out. She's got a great video on her Facebook page of the trefoil.
Oh,
You know,
here it is again.
yes, and just talking about the trefoil. So I mean, it's just, yeah, you give us, you feed us, you share. It's like we get to experience your creativity with you. We get to ride along a little bit, and it's really lovely. Thank you so much for doing that for us, or allowing us to be there. That's
Thank
good.
you. It was a pleasure and really a joy to be here and an honor to be among all these many beautiful women that I've seen you featured before. Like I couldn't believe, like, wow.
It,
So
it, it was
thank
natural to want you to be here. And I do hope that you can put the reunion show in your calendar. That'll be the first Tuesday in July. And it's going to be a heck of a room. We're going to have everybody, everybody who can come. I hope that everybody can all come. Debbie, of course, Marianne. Oh, it's going to be a lot of fun. And like I feel like we need to give Neil some love over here too, because Neil, we've gotten to see some of your amazing work as well, and you put some wonderful comments in the chat. So thank you so much for being a part of this ride today as well. You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Sorry, I just said thank you for that. I had to get out of my PJs. It's kind of like, I don't know what time it is now. It's probably 6:30 in the morning out here. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Really lovely. And the video, I just can't get over the videos. I mean, just wow. Beautiful,
That's
beautiful.
Mona. That all of that is Mona. She does the heavy lifting. I just go along for the ride. So
She makes heavy lifting look easy.
yeah. Yeah. I don't know what we would call it. I keep saying, I don't know. I just call it video origami, but I'm sure someone will come up with a better term. But yeah.
Yeah. Um, would it be all right, Mona, if we open up the mics for folks to ask you questions?
Sure.
If anybody wants to ask. Debbie, you always ask amazing questions.
Well, I feel like you said all the questions I would have asked, but I would just comment, like, when you get that MFA and you're running some kind of a writer's workshop or retreat or class or thing, like, I will get on a plane and go there if I may. Like, I want you to be my professional MFA poetry teacher in the future. I'm visualizing that.
Oh
So
my
that,
goodness. Thank you,
no,
Debbie.
seriously, you're going to be such an amazing, like, if you decide to teacher. So I'm rooting for you. Keep it up.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I so appreciate your kindness, really. Thank you.
And I want to thank Martin. I know you've been a bit under the weather, so thank you for being here. And TJ, always appreciate seeing you here as well. Thank you so much.
I have to say, I love the term video origami. That was really cool. That was cool. Like, if you call that is, oh wow, love it. Mona, you are amazing. This has been like a transformative experience for me. I mean, it usually is. Every week I'm like, but this week it was like extra. So thank you for sharing yourself with us. Like, wow. I just love you. Thank you so much.
I knew you were gonna flip. I was like, man, oh, the video. Oh, Catalyst is gonna lose it.
I was so excited I forgot I could watch the video again here. I'm like, where do I find that? Right here. You have
I
a
know
phone.
that was cute. Mona, I don't know if you got to see that. If you've gotten to see the chat, of course, the chat's
Oh, no,
been.
no. I saved the chat. I didn't have a chance to look it up because I was paying attention to, well, what I was doing. Right. But I will read the chat later on. And I want to thank everyone who wrote. And if you had nice comments for me, I want you to know I will read them.
Well, thank you again. It really has been absolutely lovely to get to hear you read and just let us kind of see through your lens. It's a beautiful view, and we really do love the fact that we got to share it with you for a moment. So thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. It was really a pleasure. And thanks for everyone who came, really. It was great to see you all.
Well, this has been our show. Thank you so much for coming here to watch The Heart of the Artist. It's just an amazing ride every time, and hope you will keep coming back with us. But until next time, love and light. Thank you.